Welcome to Can We Have a Conversation? Today we have a very interesting show. A lot of times we do shows with young men, but today we have guests that are young women. And there are participating in Girls Inc. And so I would like to introduce our guests. Our first guest is Cassidy.
Hi, my name is Cassidy, and I'm from LA.
And then we have Brooklyn.
Hi, my name is Brooklyn, and I'm her sister, and I'm from LA too.
And then we have the executive director, Tiffany Harris.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. We're from Richmond. We're Girls Inc. of West Contra Costa County.
Yes. And then we have Elora.
Hi, my name is Elora, and I'm from Richmond.
Okay. So I just want to welcome you all to the show. I'm your host, Stewart, and we're on the show, Can We Have a Conversation? Tiffany, if you would just tell us a little bit about your organization, what you do, and and we'll go from there.
So I'm the executive director. I've been there for almost 7 years now, and I was a participant as a kid. So, and our particular affiliate has been around for over 40 years. And Girls Inc. is a national organization that inspires all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. And so with me today, I have a few girls from our 10-week summer program, which operates daily from 9 to 4 in Richmond at our facility there. It's really great that we have an all-girl, pro-girl environment, and girls seem to thrive more there, and they speak out, they feel comfortable learning new skills that are not necessarily traditionally girl skills, and just working in science and technology, engineering, and math. So just really being able to be supportive of one another, learn about each other's different backgrounds, because we have girls from all walks of life, from pretty well off to like underprivileged or underserved.
I was listening to a talk show earlier this week, and they talked about the challenges that young African American or men of color struggle with, and that leads to the pipeline of prison. But they negate the fact that young women of color, young girls of color, also have some issues that they struggle with that they don't talk about. And they talk about these things interfere with their school, it interferes with their growth as far as learning, maturing. They talk about the fact that they struggle with things that is different than young boys struggle with, but you never really have an opportunity to talk about those things. Like suicide, like, depression. Do you guys know what that means when I say depression?
Yes.
I don't.
Tell me what it means, Brooklyn.
Depression is like when you feel a certain way that makes you feel sad and burdened, and makes you think about suicide in a way because you're depressed about something that might have happened or something that you're a fear of going to happen.
Very good. What is your definition?
My definition is you're hurt in the inside and you don't know what to do, and you're just like scared, and then you're just locked up in a room, and you're like you have nothing to do, and
Don't want to be around anybody.
yeah, nobody want to be around anybody.
So you're both absolutely right. When you get into a mode of depression, you kind of isolate yourself. That means you kind of distance yourself from other people. Or you might want to sleep a lot. You just don't want to do anything, and you may not have any energy, and or you may not feel good about yourself. And so these are some of the things that young girls don't talk about, or that they struggle with, but they might be embarrassed because they think they're the only ones that deal with that, which is not true. We all deal with that. Even adults deal with depression. We deal with low self-esteem. We deal with issues like that. So one of the things that we talk about on Can We Have a Conversation is topics that you typically wouldn't talk about. And one of the topics that I wanted to share was just fatherhood. What is your relationships with your father?
Me and Cassie's relationship with our father is, I guess it's okay. And personally have some issues with my father because he lost trust. I lost trust in him in the past because he hasn't told the truth towards me and Cassidy, and that made me as a person feel built a little wall against me and him because he's a little untrustworthy. So that's just my opinion. But me and our father is trying. You could tell, but it's still there that I can't trust him.
I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I mean, really at your age, I mean, to be able to articulate that was very well done. What about you, Cassidy?
Well, with my father, she said that he's not as trustworthy as he should be. Like, for example, he said he was going to buy me something, and he said that he had it, and then he said he'll give it to me the next time he sees me, and he said the next time I saw him, he said he has them, and then he just didn't give them to me. And that, like, makes me sad that I can't have trust in my father, and I really want to, but I just can't.
Now, have you ever had this conversation with your dad?
No, because he's not around a lot, and the time I see him, I don't communicate with him a lot, because I'm always with him and some other person. So I communicate with a lot of other people. I don't communicate with him as directly as I communicate with others.
The reason I ask that question is sometimes, you might want to hear his side of the story, and to be able to give him an opportunity to say why or why he didn't, or even to let him know how you feel. You say, well, I'm not really happy with the fact that I can't trust you. You've told me something, and I was expecting that, and it didn't happen. Does that make sense?
My auntie actually had this talk with me this morning, I think, and she talked about me having to communicate with him because it's very important that I have a communication with him because other than trust, there's other things that he's been doing like a father, and he's been doing a good job at. And my auntie said that, yeah, it's okay. It's important for somebody to keep their promise and have trust in you because it's very, like, important to me. But he said that it's also very unfair that I keeping it to myself, and he doesn't know that I have a problem with it when I actually do, and he has no idea.
That was very good advice from your auntie. I think you said it very well. What about you, Laura?
My relationship with my father is good. I see him a lot. It makes me happy. We do a lot of stuff together. It's fun. And yeah, that's mostly.
How often do you see your dad?
I see him every other weekend, every other Tuesday, and every Monday.
And what about you, Brooklyn?
Our schedule isn't like normal, and it's not written down. Like, it's not scheduled. If most of the time he comes when we have celebrations. Like, I had a graduation party 3 weeks ago before I went to Oakland, and he came. He brought his friends, but I didn't really communicate with him that time either. But so
he comes to special events.
Yeah.
It's not really a structure schedule. It's not like written down. It's like
if he shows up, he shows up, and it's a surprise for me because I don't see him a lot, and it's very nice to see him.
So Tiffany, with you being the executive director and working with these young ladies, and I know you see both sides. You see the mothers, you see the fathers. How do you think this impacts these young ladies' lives?
Oh, it impacts their lives greatly. It's very important to have both parents in your life, and you do see the difference. Like, it seems like girls that have both parents in their life have a sense of more structure, and they know what to do next, and they know about their future and where they want to go. Where as opposed to girls who don't have that structure, they tend to have some form of like they tend to act out, but they also have some form of like mental disorder, like not like ADHD or some attention deficit type of disorder, or just are screaming for attention. Right. They may bother other girls, or they just may ignore the teacher or the leader, or just have an attitude, or be tired. So yeah, you can definitely see a difference.
Absolutely. So what is, if I could say, what would be some of the advice your dad? Has your father ever given you any advice?
No, actually, he hasn't.
He has for me. He says that he gives me advice for school. Like if someone's bothering you, ignore them, and if it keeps continuing, tell a teacher. And then if it keeps continuing, you need to let somebody outside the school know so that can be handled like a bully.
What about you, Laura?
He's gave me advice like keep your head up and stay strong.
And does that impact you? I mean, when he tells you that, do you do it? I mean, how does that feel? That as far as you as an individual, does that make you feel more empowered, or does it make you feel more, in control, or more confident in who you are? How's that advice help you?
It makes me feel more in control because I feel like I know what I'm doing, and I feel like I feel like I know what I'm doing, and also I feel like I cannot let anybody like bring me down.
That's very good. So I have two daughters. I have one that is 12, and I have one that's 30. So the reason I brought that up was because when I was parenting my daughter that was 30, I made some mistakes, and there was some conversation. Now my daughter always knew where I was. She always knew that we had a relationship, but I used to live in Virginia, and that's where she lived. And then I moved back home to California, thinking that would make our relationship where I had to spend more time with her, but it didn't. And so there was times when she felt like I wasn't there for her like she thought I should be. And it put a strain on our relationship. And so as I began to communicate with her and begin to tell her how much I love her and how special she was, because I used to always tell her that, that you're special, you're beautiful, you are a princess, who's the greatest? And she would say, I'm the greatest. So that would build up that self-esteem. When she says, I'm the greatest. I mean, she'll say it confidently. And so, do you know I love you? And she used to say, yes. But then at some point she said, I think. So something happened from where she knew I loved her to she thinks I love her. And a lot of times that happens in the break of communication, the breakdown of communication, where we don't continue to communicate, and what we do is we outgrow or we go separate ways, and then we don't know how to get that relationship back. So communication is always the key to every relationship, whether it's a relationship with your father, your relationship with your mother. As Tiffany has said, we need both parents. You can't just make it with just your mother. You can't just make it with your father. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there came a time when my daughter wasn't doing very well in relationships. And I told her, I said, you will really never have a really healthy relationship until you have a good relationship with your father. At least work on that relationship, because that relationship should be that primary relationships where all other relationships revolve around. And so that's why I want to encourage you, Brooklyn, Cassidy, that if you can, to keep reaching out to your dad and tell him how you feel. So, Dad, do you have a minute? Can I talk to you for a second? I have something that I've really been wanting to talk to you about. And I want you to just hear me out. Don't get mad at me, but just hear me out and hear what I have to say. Because that's what my daughter did. She helped me become a better father. So when I had my other kids, it came to a point where I changed my parenting skill based on what she told me. Because I really actually thought I was a good father before she told me all these things. And then I was like, oh, wow. I wasn't as good as I thought I was. So our perspective as fathers are different than the perspective of our daughters. And so that's why we need you all to help us to become better fathers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I go back to like when you said your story time where your child was born and it was different from your oldest to like your second oldest daughter? I felt your pain because like my grandmother, she had my dad and she had no experience and she was young and she wasn't the most qualified as a parent. So she shipped my dad off into Georgia and I think that was a big impact on him mentally. So he tried, you could see the change in him because of that effect. And now my grandmother has got me and Cassidy and you could see the difference between with her, me and her dad and us two. And you could see how she changed and she tried to improve as a parent in between me and Cassidy and my dad.
Let me just ask this question. How old are you?
I'm 11.
And Cassidy?
I'm 9.
11.
It's like, don't point at me.
No, but I am just amazed at how well you all articulate and express yourselves about, I mean, you are some really smart young ladies.
Thank you.
And I commend you. And one of the things you said, Brooklyn, that I wanted to just address was, you said that your dad's mother shipped him off and that she wasn't able to take care of him because she wasn't the most suitable person at that time. She might have not had the parenting skills, or she might have not, felt like she was adequate enough to be, probably because of her age. But that might be why your father is the way he is because he didn't get what he should have at that age. Does that make sense? That happens a lot of times in families. And they call it sometimes dysfunctional families, but really every family is dysfunctional in one way or the other. There's no family that's not dysfunctional.
Right.
So when people say, well, I'm from a dysfunctional family, you ask, well, who's not? So when you think about that, think about that with your dad and say, because I know people that have not had fathers or mothers that were engaged in their lives or probably didn't have good parenting skills, and they did the best that they could, but they didn't really, they didn't know how to be that parent. Because, there's no manual on parenting. There's no book. Like you said, you were talking about you read many books. There's really no real book about parenting. Because if it is, there might be a book for Brooklyn, but Brooklyn's character is a whole lot different than Cassidy's. And Cassidy's is a lot different than Laura. So I can't take this book and apply it to your life, or I can't apply it to your life. It's a kind of hit and miss. And parenting is difficult. We need you all to help us.
Yeah, I could see how it impacts my dad and it impacts Cassie sometimes. Because you know how I'm not trustworthy with my dad? I can't be trustworthy with Cassie sometimes because I could catch myself in a lie too. We both catch each other in lies because that's how we were kind of around our surroundings. We're lying. We're
That's what
liars.
you was exposed to.
So that's what we sometimes do. We lie sometimes, and I could catch myself, and I catch Cassie sometimes. And I don't like it, but it's just how I am sometimes. Like, it's my mindset, and I'm mindseted like to lie sometimes. And I don't enjoy that, but it's just how it is sometimes with me.
And I kind of want to go back to what you were saying about, being open, them helping us as parents. And I think as parents, we have to be open because we come from the generation where, kids are to be seen, not to be heard. Sometimes when my daughters want to talk to me, I always, I'm already ready to stop them, be quiet. I put up a wall, you don't tell me that. No, I have to remember, I want them to communicate with me. I want my kids to help me be a better mom. And so I have to count to 10 or whatever, woosah, and and then hear what they have to say. And because it does help.
Oh yes,
it
absolutely.
Really does.
What do you think, Laura, as far as your communication with your dad? Are you open to have these kind of conversations with him?
Yeah, I can have these type of conversations with him. I have had a couple conversations with him about my mom and him splitting up, but I felt comfortable talking to him about that, and he felt comfortable talking about it, so we made it work and we just talked about it.
That's good. That's good.
And again, about what Laura said about I felt the type of way about my mom and my dad splitting up because that affected my life because my mom took me to school and I didn't really see my dad when I was with my mom because they didn't really like each other then. They got into arguments, the police had to get involved, so I wasn't really with both of them at the same time. But then, now that I grew up, they actually talk to each other and they actually communicate with each other. They don't fight. It's just that they know that they cannot be together again. They know that because like it just happened and it's not good.
Thank you for sharing that. One of the things you said, it impacted your life. And most separations do impact your life in more ways than we know. And when we used to being in an environment where we're having both parents and then it's no longer like that, even if that parent might not been the best parent, at least they were there. You know, at least that's a part of who you are. And, you know, my dad is at home. And, you know, he might not be home all the time, but at least I see him. You know, I know he's going to come home. You know, in reference to, I haven't seen my dad in several weeks. And so when it impacts your life, how do you deal with that?
I deal with it, but like if I don't see it for like a long time, I get scared because where we live at is not like safe at all.
Yeah, that's the thing about a father that really actually brings security, safety. I mean, my daughter used to tell me, my youngest daughter says, "Daddy, I'm always safe when I'm with you." Whether I had to protect her or not, she know. And she know I'm not going to let anything happen to you while you're with me. And that's what most fathers should be, is that secure factor where you feel comfortable. You're shaking your head. Do you feel comfortable with your dad? Yeah? Okay, Brooklyn, what did you have?
Could we go back to what Cassie said about it impacting us like when our mom and dad are together? A long time ago, my mom and my dad were separated, and a lot of things happened in between that to where my mom got different amounts of boyfriends, and to where I didn't feel comfortable because I didn't know which one I should count on because I didn't know which one was going to be my dad because all of them were around, and I was very confused because I was young, and I sometimes got mad at myself and my mom for being that kind of person that bring a lot of people inside the house. And now my dad still brings a lot of people around us where I'm confused because of his situation. He has a lot of people around us that we're confused about which one's going to be our mom around him. And I actually got into a situation one time with him where he bring one of his girlfriends over. We were watching a movie and I said something that I messed up, and I was asking him about his other girlfriend around her, and she felt a type of way, and my dad got mad at me because I didn't know what they were talking about, and I didn't know that she was his girlfriend too, and I was confused because I still don't know what's going on with that.
He messed up his game.
And he messed it.
Yes. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It does happen. And that's why, again, it's very important that you have these conversations. And you're not too young to have these kinds of conversations. And the more you communicate, the more your relationship gets stronger because you get to know each other. Like you two, you spend a lot of time together, right? You have this relationship where you all you know each other. Like you said, you tell her she's lying and you're like, "Come on, Cassie, you know, you're not telling the truth." You know,
She knows when I'm lying because I have like a face where I'm like, yeah, or I didn't do that, or yes, I did that.
The Cassie gets caught easily, but I don't lie a lot because I get caught I either tell the truth, I'm like, I'm kidding, I did it, or I just like have that face where I stutter a lot if I lie.
But if we admit that we lie, we don't get in trouble. Like if we keep it in and then they figure it out, we get into more trouble because it's best to tell the truth. I know that, but I mess up sometimes, but it's an accident. We all make mistakes.
That's right.
But if you keep it in, it's just going to make things worse.
Yeah. And the other thing where I was saying the relationship part is because you all know each other well enough to know who's telling the truth and who's not. But that only happens because you spend time together and that you communicate together. So that's why it's important that and even at this age, you may not believe it, but you're really going to need to hear from your dad. You're really going to need to reach out to him and keep reaching out to him and asking him questions. And you don't have to do it in a public setting where there's a lot of people around, but just, Dad, do you have a minute? Can I talk to you about something? Or when you get a moment, can we have a conversation? Because it's important to start this, because not only are you laying a foundation with this relationship with your father, but you're also laying this relationship with other people, other peers, whether it's a friend at school, or you might get a boyfriend later, or you might, end up getting married or something. You're practicing these tools, because no one is born with skills on how to communicate. You have to practice it. It's a daily routine, whether it's with your teacher. I told my son when he went to school, I said, when you go to school, when he first went to middle school, I'm going to tell you this too, it's going to work. Watch this. So you go to your teacher and you say, hi, I'm Brooklyn. I want to know, what do I need to do to get an A out of your class? And you look them in their eyes, and I guarantee you, they will give you favor. They will work with you, and they will do whatever they need to do. That's a relationship that you're building. You have set a tone with this teacher that she says, I've been teaching for 20 years, and I have never had a student say that. And now the thing is, you've said it, now you have to keep on it. See, you can't say, what do I need to do to get an A, and then just goof off and don't do anything. You have to still maintain it. But if you got somewhere between a B and an A, and you're on the borderline, I think she'll give you an A. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where the relationships begin to build and the communication begin. What can I do to get an A? So this is what communication is important, and fatherhood is important. And so, does that make sense? So if there was anything that you could wish that you could get a better relationship with your father, what would that be?
To move in with him and my mother also, because they do have a good relationship, and I think they could do it now.
So you would want your parents to be back together?
And all my siblings, because I have a lot of them.
I would ask my dad, how can we gain trust in each other?
That's good. So Cassie says she wants the mother and father to be together and be the family that it used to be, and all the siblings that come back together, right? So what we're going to do, and then we're going to come back to you and Laura, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and resume. Is that okay? You all did a great job. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back to Can We Have a Conversation? Thank you.